Hey guys, this is Adrian. So if you're watching this, it means that I've been abducted by aliens. No, just kidding. So it means that I probably am still stuck in the meeting. I did not anticipate the meeting to last that long, but hopefully I'll be out soon. But for now, it doesn't mean that our learning is going to stop. It just means that I'm gonna do these pre-recording videos, just in case. We got to be creative with our problems. So today we are going to be making some, or we're going to be doing some gardening today. So I actually went ahead and planted a couple stuff uh, before today, right? So I planted a bunch of tomatoes and some peppers. But today I just thought that I wanted to show you what that process looks like. So first things first, let's talk about what we're going to be planting today. So today I have four varieties. We have three peppers and one tomato. So just over from left to right. This one is called the nadapeño pepper. So it's kind of like a jalapeno, but it's not spicy. So it's not hot at all. It's just sweet. I already measured out the seeds, but this is what they're going to look like. We also have the biquinho yellow pepper, which is a pepper that I've never really grown before, but I thought it looked kind of interesting. Biquinho means little beaks in Portuguese, and this particular variety is from Brazil. Has smaller seeds, as you can see, and I'm interested to see what that looks like. Um, Next up, tomato variety. This one I'm really interested in. I've never seen this before. This is called a spoon tomato, and they're absolutely tiny. They're smaller than regular cherry tomatoes. So I'm interested to see what that looks like. Even the seeds are very tiny. I'm measuring out about 3 seeds per variety because that's the amount of space I have in my seed starter. But we'll see. We'll see what grows. Last but not least, this is my favorite pepper. This is the Lesia pepper, which is from the Ukraine. It is, I believe, it is the sweetest variety that exists today. So it's very thick pepper, but it's very sweet. So it's almost like a fruit. It has gigantic seeds, and my experience with this is that it propagates very early, meaning that it starts to grow very early. So let's get started. So whenever you get a seed starting kit, I'll show you guys how to make one from scratch using takeout containers. But for now, this is something that you could buy either from Home Depot or you could buy online. We're gonna have a bottom tray like this, and we're gonna fill that with water. And the reason why we're filling it from the bottom is because we want the bottom to be wet as well. And later on, we're going to be watering these not from the top, but from the bottom so that we don't get any mold. But for now, we're going to water it from the top as well so that you get a lot of moisture from the beginning. Next thing that you do once you have like a little bit of water in there, I'm gonna add this guy, which is our seed starter. I'm gonna put that on, and what that does is the water is gonna try to seep up from the bottom. Next is I have 12 spaces here, and each of these I'm gonna put about 3 seeds. And the reason why I'm doing that is because it's a game of chance. Sometimes seeds they don't really grow, so you don't want to end up with an empty one. So we're gonna hedge our bets by adding more seeds than we need, and later on we're just going to pull out the ones that we don't need. Okay, next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna start planting the seeds. So we're gonna do it row by row. And I think I'll start with, we'll do it in the order that we put them in. So we'll start with the nadapeños, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the plastic spoon, the bottom end, just gonna make a little hole right there. I'll do that for all of these. Doesn't have to be too deep because you want that root to go all the way down. So let's start with the nadapeños. I'm gonna do it 3 seeds at a time per tray. That's one. Oh, this is a slow process. 2, 3. If you count wrong, that's okay. That's 2. It's a game of numbers. Last but not least. Alright, so about 3 seeds per tray. So this, I've already actually pre-labeled it here at the bottom. So Narapeños here, Biqueños here, spoon tomatoes, and then Lesya pepper. So just so I don't get confused. Now comes the Biqueño peppers. 3 at a time. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Last but not least, that's 2 and 3. Ooh, this is gonna be the tougher one. This is the spoon tomatoes, and they have really tiny seeds. So let me see. Maybe I could pre-divide them. All right, that looks like 3. Right here. All right, that's 3. Yep, that's 3. There you go. And the easiest one, because it's the largest seed, this is the Lesya pepper. So I think this is an easier way to do it. Just divide them into 3s. Pick them up all at once. 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Last one. 1, 2, 3. There you go. All right. So I'm gonna put these away because I don't want these still have some seeds, so I don't want to throw those out. Next up, we're gonna cover them lightly. So I'm gonna use just the spoon, and I'll do this while this is dry, because if it's wet, then seeds have a tendency to stick to the spoon when it's wet. And I don't want to accidentally bring one seed from here into the next one, because then it would be very confusing. You don't know what's growing where. And ordinarily that would have been okay, but some plants have different needs. Peppers and tomatoes, they're very similar needs, but peppers, in my experience, tend to grow slower than tomatoes. Tomatoes grow usually faster, and peppers usually need more heat later on, so they need things to be warmer, and tomatoes are fine. All right, so there's water from the bottom, but in order for the seeds to trigger, we need to water the seeds as well. Now, I could just pour water over it, but what that might do is move the seeds around. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this guy, like a water gun, and I'm gonna water it until it changes color. The medium that I'm using is called Coco Coir. That's COIR. So it's not soil, it's like coconut husk that's been ground up. And then they also added these white stones, which I talked about before. It's called perlite. And these white stones that you see here, they're very light. They're almost like chalk. You could crush them up with your hands. I'm just doing this because I don't want the seeds to move around. But after a few days, I'm not going to be watering these from the top. So I'll be watering these guys from the bottom because I don't want mold to grow. All right, so next up, of course, is, it's still kind of cold. It's warm in this room. That's great. But we also need to cover this up, and that's going to speed up the germination process. Germination means that the seed is going to grow those the roots, their first stems, their first leaves. So easy way to do that is to cover this. So this comes with a kit that you can usually buy, but later on when we're making our own from scratch, we could, I'll show you guys how to make these. So first things first, we're gonna cover it up. Second and most important is that we're going to label when we started planting these, and labeling is very important when it comes to germinating from seed. That shows you how long it's been since you planted it. It shows you whether the seeds are still viable, meaning the seeds are still going to grow. It also shows you whether or not the seeds need something else, right? So if it's only been a week, then that means that, if they're not showing up yet in a week, that's perfectly fine, especially for like peppers. But if they haven't been showing up and it's already been 2-3 weeks, means that something went wrong. Either you didn't water it enough, or the seeds themselves could be not viable, meaning that they weren't supposed to grow. They're just either irradiated or they're just too old. All right, so that's it. We're gonna close this up. We're also going to check on these guys. So I started this yesterday, like I said, and that's what it looks like. It's looking kind of dry, but what I did was I watered this from the bottom. Right, so there's water at the bottom. Let's see if I could do this without making a mess anywhere. So yep, there's water here under the bottom, if you can kind of see that. And what that's going to do is it's going to seep up. Water at the top. Now I left this overnight here, and I left this close to the heater, and what that does is that it warms it up. It makes the seeds think that it's warmer now, that it's spring or summer. So it's gonna trick the seeds into thinking that it's time to go up. One way you could keep it even warmer is by covering it like this, and you see all the droplets that's here. So this is from the condensation. The heat is making the water evaporate. It gets trapped out here, and it goes back down into the soil. So that's one way that you could save some water, just by covering it up. We're gonna do the same thing here. So it's already covered, and if you notice, you have these little things at the top, and what these are just vent holes, right? Because sometimes you don't want it to be completely covered. Sometimes you want to vent it out just a little bit so that it could dry out, but not right now. We don't need that right now, when they're a little bit bigger. Okay, so we're done with this. Last step is to look for a nice sunny spot for them to be in, or if you are next to a heater, which we are, we could do that too. So that's what we're going to do. These are already labeled. So once again, we're growing jalapenos, we're growing biquinos, spoon tomatoes, and Leslia peppers. I didn't show you guys what I'm growing with the other one, so let's go through them. This one is the Berkeley tie-dye tomatoes, black strawberry tomatoes, which looks very beautiful, Chadwick cherries, and Reza peppers, which is kind of spicy. All right, so once that's done, oh, hang on. I think I got a guest. I think my co-star is here. Hi. Oh, sorry, wrong person. All right, so once that's done, we're gonna leave them here by the sun, and later on this is gonna start to look like this, because all that water is going to get heated up. It evaporates. It gets stuck here because it can't get out, and it stays in the ground, and that's going to keep the ground moist. All right, guys, hope you guys learned something, and hopefully by now I am back. If not, then yeah, we'll figure something out. All right, so thanks, guys.